So, my daughter Mina Dawood gave me an excellent clue, uh, apparently to in detail understand, this how human subconscious would develop cognition that would allow symmetric thoughts process. I mean, of course, everybody knows that simultaneously symmetry and abstractness uh, goes hand in hand. That it is mostly the symmetry is mostly about uh, 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 the scientific thought, evolution of scientific thought, whereas developing languages or representing art, you know, even in thousands of years ago in ancient caves, there were drawings that were found put inside the walls of the cave. So abstractness is inherent. I mean, by this conjecture that human thought works through a certain level of tesseract. It's not that simple though. It's like of course in a dream. I mean, imagine digital world is not that simple. I mean, it's not really defined by really tesseracts. But what it is that you get a perspective. It says that a good picture is worth 1,000 words. A good movie reel is worth a universe, and that develops memories. I mean, our memories, our dreams are based on our memories and observations. They can be a bit abstract. I mean, for example, if I am doing something about astronauts, is that I have not created astronauts, but what I have done is I have followed a lot of science fiction movies. I have personally never met an astronaut. I mean, yeah, I went to Washington D.C. and Space Museum I did visit, and it's like so fancy. And yes, just to clarify, those astronauts were not really wearing ESA, NASA, things, but it was just a reference point. A researcher would often do that. So anyway, there's a story to it. Maybe if I think it is appropriate, I can explain it. Or tell it as if a good story is told. Because it has a value to it. So I mean, yeah, I'm lucky to be living in 21st century and familiar with all the space expedition constraints and how it is defined through scientific method, and why Interstellar and Martian are one of the most scientifically oriented movies with visibly great space missions by apparently NASA. So uh, I mean, it is easy to then understand it's not really tesseract which matters. It is realizing the outbound areas whereby by a simple picture, abstract though, or more defined, can capture a certain moment within your memory. I mean, it's all about feelings, and then you can express this through a lot of abstractness. But then, scientific thought would have a certain order to it, and that's why I mentioned tesseract. It's like the scientific thought is also inherent to humanity. That's what I'm saying. It's just I wouldn't know. What I'm connecting is I'm trying to understand the structural dynamics of a tesseract because it's a fascinating idea. It's a fascinating idea told through human subconscious and could be found through practices in human history. And most importantly, the abstractness, the non-linearity, that the dreams being three-dimensional, is an amazing perspective. And of course, it needs to have a certain, controls. Which in economics we use a lot of controls. If we are trying to measure, for example, common effectiveness, I mean, it's a standard practice in non-linear mathematical models or algorithms that you identify certain controls. Based on that, you try to then isolate a certain measurement of a certain economic, social, political process. If rule of or state political stability is very important through an economic analysis whereby gross domestic product is your dependent variable, you need to find other variables which might as well be very important. And the most complicated algorithm and mathematical model will be that simultaneously there will be a system of equations explained through dependent and dependent variables where all the controls would matter, but then you have a story to tell. Whereas what you do is you play with mathematical equations and dynamics, time series dynamics or cross section dynamics, and then what you do is you isolate the effects of other variables to then highlight one variable, and then in the second stage you highlight another variable, and that's how you build up a complete comprehensive story. But then of course in economics is a very normal practice. I mean, monetary aggregates would really define economic empowerment, whereas cultural variables or human behavior through cultural notions is not really measurable in quantitative senses or through monetary aggregates. More importantly, I mean, even if you measure them quantitatively, they're not available through monetary aggregates, whereas formal economy works with variables who are defined by monetary aggregates. So anyway, this is again, that's how you build. I mean, even in school, you have got a copy of form. This is this class notebook, whereby there might be हाशिए बने होते हैं, ऐसा कुछ होता है. You might be writing Urdu, Arabic, or you might be writing Spanish, French, English, or you might be writing Persian or Hindi or Chinese, Mandarin. And it is, our words are representative of our random thoughts, abstract thoughts, and trying to find certain patterns into it. So it's natural. But then building something, I mean, that's something which is the real achievement of modern humanity. I mean, engineering, I can maybe identify certain patterns, and everybody would do. You go to Dubai, you go to New York, you go to London, you go to Amsterdam, you go to Paris, you go to Islamabad, or I live in Lahore and ride my bicycle or walk on the roads of Lahore, or maybe it's true for Bombay and Delhi as well, or it can be true for Shanghai or any East Asian metropolitan city in South Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia, Taiwan, Hong Kong. So what you see is a lot of architectural designs, and they are evident through their beauty. These creative architectural designs would be a bit of abstractness, but then there will be engineering achievement because of their grand aura that you would say, especially true for high-rise buildings, or that would be true for certain designs. For example, maybe in Dubai there is a frame there as a something which tourists can get a great idea about the aesthetic sense of the city of Dubai. So it's just in the modern cities you will find many abstract designs, many interesting designs, and they are built by architects, engineers, designers, and creative designers. Or it can simply be put into into a computer program, and then you can get an idea of a good design, and then you would measure or map it's how it would be be representing non-linearities through a building method and a building material. So building material is also very important, building method is also very important, and that's what your engineers and architects and creative designers come in. So this is, I'm even not it's not even ABC. It is familiarity for being a citizen of 21st century. So now you can understand the link between abstractness and symmetry, which is determined in three-dimensional spaces by entropy. So we can have we have digital technologies which can really create a simulation representing getting a little bit of a flexibility that represents the two-dimensional frameworks that digital world works in. And therefore, entropy is not really a concern, whereas it would give a wonderful world of movies, entertainment, news, current affairs, political news, scientific commentary, and then social media like YouTube or X or TikTok. There are so many social media websites. Uh, so, uh, what I'm trying to then understand is how would I orient something, that as a this if I look at the movies Mugambo Hoshua kind of why I'm saying that is an important thing, because what it is when I see today's digital images, and then I have the opportunity on YouTube to look at videos from, let's say, 90s or 80s, I would realize that they are they sometimes might look funny. For example, in the case of Mogambo, I mean, strange looking person, it is just a strange outfit and doesn't match the reality. Though there was nothing subconscious. I mean, we were never impressed by. I was at least was never impressed by villains or. But that, I mean, it's just a storytelling. I was more oriented towards reading Naseem Hijazi, for example. I mean, the greatest stories, and everybody knows that reading a book is better than watching a movie on the same storyline, because your imagination would create a better world. So, I mean, it's just very normal. But then, with today's digital technologies, you have beautiful Marvel movies. I mean, they are so close to reality. I mean, Iron Man or Batman or Superman. I mean, or Spider-Man. They are amazing movies. With I mean, I've heard that $1 billion would be spent into making such classic movies, which are just are the latest movies as well. But then, how to reorient the larger frame? Uh, uh, I mean, of course, there is information. There is realistic information, which is for example, for my daughters, they are watching some fun movies where there are children, doing a lot of things, and there are so many YouTube stars, even from Pakistan, some village folks who will be, what they are doing is, doing some interesting activities which might get them audience. Whereas, inherently, since I went to Netherlands, and especially from Kaidan University since 1996, my lifestyle would be more oriented towards academia. And it was established after getting a PhD. And so I'm into a little bit more serious thought. I'm into a little bit of a more, as I have aged as well, I'm a middle-aged man. So I'm watching a lot of serious media and less of entertainment. And that's quite natural. But then there's great lessons, even for me, to then understand. Have you ever seen a Spider-Man flying in any of the news channel, international or local Pakistani? But they will be showing beautiful faces in game shows, especially of families with their beautiful children, Pakistani families, Pakistani children from Balochistan, from Sindh, from Punjab, from KP province, from Gilgit-Baltistan, and the hosts, and beautifully, very nicely dressed and smartly dressed hosts would then conduct those game shows. And you would, I mean, the simplicity and happiness in the faces of the audience would be more spectacular when you have a lot of time on social media. And with very similar connotation, have you ever in even a political talk show with heated discussion among politicians, among leaders, among intellectuals, would there be any iota of impression there's a world of supernatural heroes? No. It's about ordinary folks. It's about the beauty of the ordinary world. And I still get fascinated. I mean, if I go to the gym, it would be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I have never met Arnold Schwarzenegger. I've seen his movies only. Yes, he speaks so well as well. Sean, have you noticed the discussion, the difference that I have not seen much of his movies, but then I'm so fascinated by his persona that, of course, media gets the credit for it as well, as they would invite Sean and he would host a morning show. I'm amazed by his mannerism, his eloquent speech, both in Urdu and English. And I wonder, I mean, same for many of the Pakistani cinema personalities. So that's real life, my friends. What I'm saying is everybody understands the difference between fiction and reality, and especially why it is important. Why I'm saying that it is the only, maybe it's not a really an educated conjecture, an expert conjecture, but there is a psychology to it. For example, what I'm saying is that yes, in such a comfort-filled world, in a world where you have such, I mean, so many YouTube videos about galaxies, about science fiction possibilities, all made by really brilliant young minds. But then there needs to be kind of mundane, ordinary impression towards, this fancy lifestyle, and that is represented through our daily routines, through physical activity, through watching some kind of a serious debate in the media, an honest and sincere debate, or following a political leader, or even following brave men and women in uniform. So what I'm saying is that this abstractness it has transformed. I mean how it has transformed. I mean, there's a world of fiction which is now becoming more and more real because it could be witnessed from digital technologies like Marvel movies, and then there is a real world, and what one should be fascinated about. I mean, the wonder world. I mean, of course, when children are growing, they are into fairy tales, but then Marvel movies are as good for 48 years old man as it is good for a young teenager. I mean, I'm fascinated because it's a story of. I mean, I have seen the early movies, Superman movies, Spider-Man movies. So I'm fascinated with the idea. I mean, Star Trek. If you see that in Netflix, it is an amazing transformed into a more scientific movie series. So what I'm saying is that scientific reasoning, scientific method, and symmetry would then find its balance between abstractness and reality. I mean, abstractness can be explained through understanding reality, and that's what words and thoughts do. It's mundane. It has been happening for thousands of years. But what I'm saying is that this is the world of fiction which looks so real, and the world of reality. You need to find a certain perspective, and for that, my friend, still the painters with canvas, the poets, and men and women of religion who would tell you how to abide by certain cultural practices and rules and laws would be the greatest of the people, the most relevant people. For example, watching so much, playing video games and watching so much Marvel and superhero movies and comics, you just go to a mosque and humbly say your prayers and meet the Maulvi. Its mosque represent a very serious, sincere, genuine environment, where it's all good things which are being told to you how to live in a society, traditional society like Pakistan. So seriousness of effort. I mean, the best person would be to talk to a Maulvi. But then, that's what I'm saying. I mean, Islam has achieved so much. Islamic thought has evolved so much philosophically. You need to understand the application of Sharia to Islamic thought. There are so many great Islamic leaders, and there are religious parties in Pakistan as well. So one needs to try to find a certain balance. I mean, of course, why I'm making this video and talking about my daughter and children, young children. I'm teaching PhD students. What I want is that there needs to be a bit of an understanding that how when the children are going to be younger and then would be adults, and they are living in a certain world with a certain generational impressions, generational storytelling. It is still the world of globalization, digital media, whatever international trade.